working with Accenture for around 4.5 years as a .NET developer. And long back, I've done my BTech in computer science. So that's a small gist about me. Let's try to keep it interactive, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or put it in the chat. Today, I'm going to be covering a topic on like data-centric enterprise. So just give me a second. I'll share my screen and let me know if you can see my screen. Give me 1 second now.
Sure, no problem at all.
Just
As I mentioned to everyone else, in the meantime, please feel free to switch off your cameras if you're coming in, if you're not part of the main panel. Please go mute. Otherwise, I will be doing that. Anu, we could see your screen. It's not on. Okay, now it's on presentation mode. You can go ahead.
perfect, yeah. So basically, I'm going to be covering a topic on data-centric enterprise. Okay, let's understand why are we even discussing about that today. So there's a quote, a very interesting quote that I've heard. Hello,
Guys, may I just request everyone to be on mute during the time? Be respectful. Appreciate it. Thank you. Anu, go ahead.
Perfect. Thanks, Rohan. So yeah, I was just mentioning about why this data is becoming quite important. There's one of the code that have been put in here by Andrew NG. He's it's a thingy like in AI teams, you can basically replicate the software from one company to another. But when it comes to data, it's something that is accessible within the client itself, and it's an asset to the company which people cannot replicate. So you have a competitive advantage if you play around with your data. So again, becoming a data-centric organization, right? Why is it important? What exactly does it mean? I'm gonna just put like 5 minutes in here. So as a company, as an organization, today it's very important that you move in the direction of data-centric, and you take decisions not just based on your intuition, but basically mostly on the facts. So when I say take decision on the data or the facts, does it mean that you don't put your intuition and business knowledge behind it? The answer is gonna be no. It's more a combination of your business knowledge along with the data that a company holds. So becoming that sort of an enterprise, moving in that direction where your decisions are based on the data that you have within your organization is a key of the hour. And there are a couple of reasons behind that today. I'll put it in one, which is a better decision making. So let me take an example of one of the advanced analytics client that we worked with. There they were developing trucks in the market, which the project itself of developing a truck used to take about 2 years, and they didn't know what was causing a delay or that duration, which involves a lot of manufacturing efforts, right? And software was taking a lot of time. So where they use their data, understand what was causing that delay and why the entire duration was taking like 2 years. They at the end of the project and during that analytics, they identified that they can what was causing delay and how can they modify and be a better decision making. So today, although there is a business knowledge, there is a thinking behind that this could cause a delay or this is something that could be the reason of your delay that is happening in your different processes. But when becoming you bring data in it, you do some sort of analytics or even just do a simple analytics on a descriptive level, understanding why a certain decision or certain process is not working well or working well, that can help you in better decision making. So that is one thing, that if companies move in the direction of taking their decisions based on the data itself, along combining it with the business knowledge, they're gonna be flourishing it in the longer run. And that is one of the reasons that today there's a push that companies or clients and organizations should move in the direction of more on the data-centric decisions. It of course helps in the efficiency itself, that it allows you to identify what are the areas that are causing inefficiency and you can take in corrective action. There's another thing which also helps is the competitive advantage. Like there have been organizations that we worked with where they moved in the journey of data centric and they had the entire data platform where the central data was captured, where they know, because one of the issue that we currently face within organizations is that first, they don't know where the data lies. Second, even if the data lies, it's not in the format that it can be used. third, even if it can be used, then the same data is present in multiple locations, so you don't know what is your source of truth. So there are a couple of typical problems that occur. But of course, moving in the direction of that will create something which is trustworthy, and this is the data where it's going to be reside. That's where you're unlocking values, and that's where a competitive advantage comes in compared to other organizations, where you know how you're going to be using your data. You can unlock new opportunities also. Like for example, in one of the client, they know how a given process was working on, so they introduced another use case, was cross selling their products. So not just the same product, like in a telecom company, so you have, I am taking one product, I'm taking one prepaid control that I'm using for a given telecom organization. Based on the data, they unlock new opportunities, that why can't we sell another product to this customer based on other customers with a similar behavior, they have done the same thing, why can't we do a cross sell? So when you have data residing in, your decisions are better, and of course it also unlock different opportunities for you that you can do um, in the long run. And another thing which also helps, so I've put down 5 points, but of course they are beyond. So these are the main criteria, is your customer experience. So again, in a telecom world or in a retail company or in other organizations, when you are based on your data centric, you can basically understand your customer behavior, preferences, feedback early on, even if you don't get to know it in the longer run, and you can tweak your decisions, you can change your strategies, the way you're bringing in new clients and new customers can also adopt. So these are the benefits, that few of the benefits that you bring in when you think in the direction of data centric. Do I say that it's a simple journey? It's not going to be a simple journey, but again, moving in the direction, it's the key itself, because these are the benefits that definitely it's going to get into you. First, we now understand that it's important that you move in the direction of data centric, which is basically your decisions are based on data along with your business knowledge. But what does it basically takes into become a data centric organization? Um, so there, in that case, we have got 5 elements in here. So which is quite major. One is the leadership buy-in. So what do you mean by leadership buy-in here? Any organization will not change throughout. Okay, so there is a leadership support needed, who understand the data initiatives or the decision making or the support that data could bring in. So there is a data literacy that is important at a leadership level, who basically make sure that they are in the journey of becoming a data driven company. Because if you do not have a leadership support in the first place, even if some people wants to go in that direction, it will be quite difficult. So your company leadership need to understand that they are in the same they understand the value of becoming a data organization, and that's where key one, like if you're moving in that direction, first of all, your leadership need to understand why is it important, and do they really need that in their organization. And if they are in the journey of that, then of course there are a couple of things that's going to matter, is more on the data strategy, which is basically when you have got the data, but how basically your organization goals are going to be defined on your strategy, that these are the data that you're going to be focusing on based on the priority use cases or priority downstream systems that are important. And again, looking at the governance, quality, and different aspects of the data itself. um, you have leadership buy-in, you have a great data strategy that's going to take you in the long run. Then the another element comes in is the infrastructure. You cannot become an organization which is based on your data if you do not have a scalable infrastructure and platform. So you do need to invest there in more on building a full ecosystem, again exploring whether you want to go on-prem or you want to explore cloud technologies as well, where you invest a little properly on the infrastructure that is needed to make, again, whether you need a batch or streaming data, that's a different use cases based on the organization. But again, what the platform is needed is quite important. um, these are the key elements, but again, it's the mindset change, right? The people who have been working in an organization and taking decisions based on business, it'll be a little tricky for them to change overnight. And because we have seen it in our organization or different engagements as well, when we brought analytics and use cases, when in the 5-6 years of my journey, I've seen it like when you share the final insights with someone and that person says, no, I don't believe it, I don't think so, data is saying wrong, it's not going to be an easy change. And even if a model is saying, an algorithm is saying something, it's not going to be an easy change in itself, where people would be easy to like they'll be willing to adopt it. So it's very important that as an organization there is an important element done on training as well, so people understand what these algorithms or what the data is we are talking about. So when the outputs are going to come or the results are going to come, they understand what the tools and techniques are needed, how the algorithm is giving an answer. I'm not saying the algorithm is going to be always correct, but at least it's there's a bind which will be there from that individual itself to take both things into account, that cross check if the calculations were right in the first place or not, and then also including their business knowledge to understand why the data is giving this answer in the first place. And that literacy is important in the organization itself, where you train people so that the same people can start using the similar tooling and techniques and have a culture or mindset of experimentation more than just going with the intuition perspective itself. And last but not the least is very critical is the analytical capabilities, so that you basically hire talent who also understand the technical way of how do you maintain this platform, right? How do you develop this platform? So team of data engineers, data scientists, and other professionals that are related, like for visualization and data analysis. So you basically build that team within your own organization who are solid enough that they can build this platform, they can maintain this platform, and also develop use cases based on advanced analytics. So these are a couple of things that are needed when you're thinking in the moving in the direction of data centric organization. Again, it's not going to be like a one day effort and entire company would become data centric. It's an iterative process. There might be situations there where you have to go back and revisit your data strategy and infrastructure, that it's aligning to your goals or not. Um, so these are a couple of things that I've personally felt within an organization who is in the journey of becoming a data centric becomes quite critical. Again, they'll face a little bit of it's not going to be an easy journey depending on where they are in the current state, but as long as they know they want to become a data centric organization and they want to take the benefits that comes with the investment that they want to put in, I think that that's an amazing way to go towards in the real future. Again, not every company should be doing it, but again, the company who has great data and they have an expertise, I think there is a benefit that can come in when people move in that direction with the right skill set and the right set of people and the right goal and mindset they have. Um, so these are the couple of things that I wanted to share today. In 10 minutes probably I cannot tell that how you can actually do this on the ground, but again, more than happy to take any questions if somebody has. And I'll be more than happy to share my own journeys as well. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Anu, for that quite, kind of introductory couple of slides and overview. I have Dumi also come online. So the five things you specifically highlighted were the leadership, data strategy, infrastructure, mindset, and analytical capability. And I think you really nicely kind of gave us the foundational requirements to get going. I want to come to Dumi as the first panelist out of the one of the three panelists to the first question. And I think, Dumi, one of the things we do is to save time. And I think everybody who had come here have access to Google. Everybody can go through the LinkedIn profiles and find out who we are. So as a result, I usually try not to give major introductions, but Dumi, for the benefit of everyone, maybe a quick intro about you. But let me ask this question. I think, as far as Octave is concerned, you've been, you are obviously driving some of the most complicated and probably with some of the most mature, use cases and projects in the market at the moment. I would even go to the extent of saying market. So what are the inputs I would like to ask from you, Dumi, is that, is it always like the topic is ROI? So what is your experience about really driving, ROI on data strategy? The way that Anu structured it, it is an ongoing process. It is a continuous thing. How have you seen the leadership in your experience that kind of buy into this? because it's a little bit more harder to kind of a digest, isn't it? So, Dumi, what do you think?
Hey, thanks, Rohan, and good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for giving opportunity on this webinar. And I think just to introduce myself in just a quick line, been in the industry for the last 15, 16 years, as predominantly working on bank and financial services and retail. So getting it back into the particular question that you asked, Rohan, I think it's a very timely question because the reason is that uh, most of these engagements in big data and AI and analytics, right? So if you really look at it, uh, even I was just reading quite a recent study from some of the very prudent consultancy firms is that a lot of people wants to do big data, a lot of people wants to do analytics, and then realize that there's a huge investment that goes into it as a capex, and also an opex goes on to it. And how do you really make sure that you have a measurement of value for it, right? Um, because if you really look at it, you might still end up having quite a lot of data, and then you might not know what needs to be done, right? Amazingly to speak, that 2 weeks back, I was also at this Sri Lanka Retail Association's forum, and it's very good to see that even the small players are now looking at investments towards AI and data, right? Uh, to answer a particular question, I would rather put this together in a kind of like a four quadrant way, right? I'll probably say that the ROIs on analytics journey can be looked at in two distinguished ways, which is a hard and a soft way, where you classify them in a four quadrant into an investment and returns against, right? So what does this hard means, right? Hard investments and hard returns, right? So your hard investments and returns, probably if you look at it in terms of investments point of view, it can be your licensing and resources, right? So it can be your human capital, human resources, your licensing costs, everything that goes into it, right? Then against that, if you actually look at in terms of returns, especially on the AI domain, you might probably say, okay, there's time savings, which rose up to productivity. Then your cost savings, how can you improve your bottom line and top line? Then how can you really make your cash flow increase, like your revenue increases, right? So during I mean, especially at a time like this, where the country goes through quite a lot of turbulence, there's a lot of questions come up. Okay, how can data and analytics can actually predict and give that return on investment for the business? I think this is the right time to do it. The reason being that if you actually find and crack ways in terms of realizing your returns on time, cost, productivity, and revenue, in terms of investments through resources and the other soft investments like licensing, and then platforms, this is the right time. Let me also talk, like just take 2 minutes to talk a little bit about the soft returns and soft investments also. So then you can kind of like build a kind of like a mind map around this. So in terms of soft investments, it's the most important factor. That I would probably say the foundation of it is your data, and where are you going to store it, whether it's into your computation and storage. Then at the same time, towards your human interaction of it coming in, who how do you bring your subject matter experts, right? So SMEs for your domain in terms of it, right? Then probably your training, your continuity in terms of taking that knowledge across, right? Because these days a common problem might also look at it saying that, okay, I am going to invest on this. How do I measure my ROI? I have an attrition rate of this. How do I really look at this, right? So these are like ground level common problems anyone would see, and not only in Sri Lanka, across. I mean, if any of the colleagues joining from the other countries, Europe is going through this, US is going through this. You may hear that there are layoffs. You may hear that a lot of things are happening, right? But at the same time, how relevant is your ROI journey on AI is the most important factor, right? I'll also take a pause after talk a little bit around the returns on the soft side of it, right? I did talk about the hard side, which is time, cost, productivity, and revenue. But let's look at in terms of your returns of soft side, right? How can you increase better experience for your end user? So obviously, when you increase your better experience, your returns on investment automatically generates. The most important, the other factor in terms of retention of skills, right? This is kind of like a most important thing, more relevant to the country at the moment, but
Right.
this also comes in. Then I'd probably say the most important thing is your agility for it, right? How agile you are for that, right? So this is how I would kind of like mind map myself in terms of these four quadrants, to look at it. How is your data strategy is rightly put in place, and then how do you really look at it in a more like a
Right.
simplified form in a four quadrant way, Rohan.
Nice, really nice. I think one of the things I'm realizing is that, this is a very loaded topic. I mean, I think the richness in the answers, even your presentation, Anu, and even to me, it's quite heavy. It's one of those things about going to be jam-packed within the next 1 hour or so. Dr. Sumani, let me come to you. I wanted to just introduce Dr. Sumani. Maybe you can introduce yourself, Sumani. That will be probably the best. He joined Octave very recently. So first of all, we are really delighted and excited to have you joining us, Doctor. One of the questions, obviously, one of is that Anu explained about some of the necessary work that is going in terms of more like in the preparation phase, the conviction building leadership. Duminda spoke about the ROI part of it and all that, but ultimately, it's about making sure that we have the data, right data, and high quality data available, etc. So the question I wanted to ask you is that obviously you are in a very important space, like you are like the in the space that prepares all of this for the data scientists to do the analytics work to happen, etc. And I think that's where the data quality, which is our main topic for today, is really, really important, and that drives the intelligence for it. So what are the with your experience of years of working together, and I would like to invite any of the other panelists also jump in if it's needed, is that Dr. Zamani, what are the challenges that you have seen with the businesses as to, I'd like to break it into two sections. One is from a leadership commitment and the business priority side of it that has prevented from achieving this, number one. Second one, technically, predominantly from a technical standpoint, what were the challenges that had prevented us from really achieving a high data quality and then driving intelligence on top of that? So loaded question. I'd like you to just start, Dr. Sumani.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Rohan, and thank you very much for having me here. A bit of an introduction about myself. I'm Sumani. I currently work as principal machine learning engineer at Octave. I recently joined. I have quite a close to 14 years of experience in deep technical roles, mainly in data science, machine learning engineering, and data engineering. On the education side, I did my bachelor's at University of Moderator engineering faculty, and then I did my PhD in computer science. So this is a bit of introduction, and yeah, coming back to your question, Rohan. Yeah, the challenges that I have seen in the industry and in several organizations are, the very first thing is, the senior leadership's commitment. We have to have a right strategy and vision to collect and store data. So we know that lots of businesses generate tons of data, but they lack the right strategy and right investment and right commitment to collect and store the data for the advanced analytical purpose. So that is one of the challenge where the senior leadership must understand or realize the changing world and then make the right commitment to that one. The second challenge that I have seen is, on the data strategy or the building the data strategy capabilities in organization is, building the right talent capabilities or talent pools. So it's super hard around the world where, finding the right talents. And also mainly in this AI and advanced analytical field, it's even harder because it's something getting matured, something a new field and becoming matured field. So we have talents, lots of talents entering into this field, but finding the very well seasoned professional is bit of harder these days. So that also another challenge to build data capabilities or implement data strategies at the organizations. Yeah, and third, I would say, the maybe linked to the first one, senior leadership commitment also, the building these capabilities need, quite a significant amount of investment. So the senior leadership must, allocate the right budget, right amount of budget to, achieve these transformations. Yeah.
Got it. So, Bani, I think that you parked it at a very interesting point where you said about, senior leadership commitment, and I think Anu, you spoke about it from the mindset and maybe the leadership as the 2 points that were really required. So the topic is, is it one of those things that we are like, are we like shooting things at and thinking that something might stick, or are we really thinking about, what this is really something that's going to add a lot of value over a period of time, and then we should actually pursue it. So Anu, let me come to you because you obviously have a lot of global exposure. You are working in one of the very interesting spaces, and wanted to ask you the loaded question again, two parts of it. First of all, are we really seeing this value in driving data and all that, or is there a lot of conviction still need to be built? So if so, how do we do that? That's my first part of it, right? Question. Second part of it is that, okay, conviction was built, we are ready to go. What are the roles and responsibilities and the teams that you need to think about going on this journey in organization? So 2 parts question. Anu, over to you.
Thanks, Rohan. I think it's a very interesting question here. You can hear me, right? My internet is a little choppy today.
Loud and clear.
You can hear it? Perfect. Yeah. Cool. So again, as I mentioned, that organization by organization, it's quite different. But majority of the organizations there, where the key, they have got data within their own organization. Like for example, for a pharma client, they've got CRM data that they're maintaining, or maybe the sales data. And similarly for another organizations where they understand that the value that they can bring out of the data itself. For those organizations, it's quite simpler compared to the organizations where they get the data from external third-party vendors. So there it becomes quite tricky, or maybe they have got data which is disorganized, present in another many places, which would take time, and so they don't want to invest in the long run because they don't understand the value yet. So again, for some organizations, it's quite clear that, of course, if they're going to be contributing more in the direction of data, they'll have more value coming up in the future. Some where the data does not exist, that's out of picture because they have limited data within their organization, and they're basically using external data more or less if required. And third, they want to go in the journey, but of course their data is quite discrete enough, so they want to do an initial investment at early on, understand, bring that data in the central platform, and then take it in the long run. Now, coming to any of these organizations who want to go in the direction of data driven, right? Your question on the roles, right?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to data strategy, when you're starting with something, it's very important that you've got the business owners or the technical owners in there who understand the business quite well, like within at an enterprise level or at a domain or a business level. For example, you're a part of a marketing team or you're part of a finance team. So an experts in that area who understand their data and business quite well, and also the cross domains. So somebody who can understand across domains. So you need those roles at the initial level when you're defining a data strategy, along with technical people like data engineers who are very well dealt with the data. They understand when they're going to be building data pipelines or the scalable pipelines that they're going to be building. They need to understand what the frequency of that data is going to look like, where the data needs to be stored. So more on the technical side, where how the platform is going to look like. So you need a team of data engineers there as well when you're thinking about the data strategy. And third is on the governance team. So you cannot remove compliance from here. So whenever you're defining a strategy in the starting itself, compliance or the governance team needs to be in there, who knows what the PII data is, where the data needs to reside, what the compliance things are. So you take into account governance in the early run. So these are the couple of roles that you would need at the early level when you're defining a strategy. But when you, of course, you're building an analytical platform, then other roles like data scientist, which basically will help you building an advanced analytics model, would come in. Another role which is evolving, it's a little loose couple here, is MLE or machine learning engineers, which will help you take your model to a productionization. in a scalable level unless your data scientist can play that role. Um, Maybe you do need experts of DevOps engineers who basically help you build the CI/CD pipelines and do more of your writing your pipelines in a scalable software engineering perspective and do that CI/CD part. You would need translators in there, translators who can bridge the gap between the technical and your business. So that sort of a role or an engagement managers would be needed on your entire study. So these are a couple of roles that I've mentioned. Of course, I'm not missing the visualization experts who would basically be doing the dashboards, but these are a couple of roles that would be required in this data journey that you would be going on.
Anu, you made it sound like a lot of work. Is that a
No.
lot of work?
It
A lot of
depends,
people, by
right?
the way, for organization to invest on.
It depends. Like again, do you want to go full scale or do you want to start with an MVP? It varies. And again with investment you get a lot of returns also. So it's to and fro.
I saw Dr. Sumani smiling the moment you mentioned the importance of machine learning engineering. So we'll come to that. I think we are almost at the halfway mark of the webinar. So if any of you have any questions, thank you first of all for being with us. We have seen about 58, 60 people at the moment in the panel in the webinar. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it on the chat and come back. We'll definitely take your questions in about 15 minutes time and clarify before we wrap up the webinar for today. So let me come back to Duminda with a little bit of a slightly a question, but I think I also want to have a kind of slight modification on that. Now, we spoke about the requirements, we spoke about the data part of it, we spoke about the roles and functionality and few other things. I think one of the things that we often think about, Anu, the way that Anu mentioned as well, is that there is an investment for sure. There is a certain level of conviction and a belief that is needed for you to move project on this. This is not where, okay, within next 3 months or next 1 year, you're going to see results. It's amazing. Let's just move forward type of thing. So I have two types question in two ways, Dumi, for you. First of all, is that, if what are the safeguards that a business can and should take when you're placing this kind of a strategic initiative for a business, right? I mean, there is a chance that I think the most likely the three outcomes is that I invested, I got great results, everything seems to be working well. I invested, I got marginal results. Okay, I still can be happy, but the worst case scenario is that I invested, I'm not sure whether I'm getting the results I want, right? So these are the three senior level decisions. So I'd really like you to say what are the safeguards, what are the steps the businesses should take to ensure there's value consistently being delivered, what are the adjustments in the technology data part that may need it for you to do. Maybe we'll start with that. I have a follow-up question to that, Dumi, but I'd like to hear your answers for that, and then I'll come back to that.
I think it's quite a timely question. And then, in fact, today, even in the morning, I was at a strategic discussion and something similar actually popped up. So I look at it in different ways, right? So how I have with my experience in terms of engaging with multi-sector clients is like the first thing that I completely agree with you on this, Rohan, because the reason is that when things go right, there will be very little questions that will be asked, and then okay, you see that there's a bottom line impact and a top line impact, and then you continue to, it's easier for your IT guy and your AI team or the analytics team to go and speak to the business and say that okay, let's do an X million dollars or rupees of investment and take it forward, right?
Yeah.
I think how it needs to be looked at and how I have experience in terms of the organizations become successful is how are you confident and are you buying and are you getting into and do you believe in data, right? Because the moment that you understand that data is going to create value for your business, where immaterial of whether your analytics models or interventions or any data driven decisions are giving value or not, you're going to stand for it, right? And your organization leaders will push the other stems across the pillars to make sure that they will also believe in it and they will also get that conviction to believe in it and then invest in it, right? That is, I believe that that's the number one factor. If you're doing an investment towards data or AI or anywhere, right, even the quality of data or whatever it is, but if you have second thoughts in terms of thinking, okay, let's look at it, um, run it for couple of days and then look at it, I success of these engagements are very minimum, right? You have to plant the seed. It takes time for the seed, the entire tree to grow. You need to keep on watering the plant and having the right sunlight and the pruning for you to get the fruits out of it for the labor, right? So I think that would be the right strategy to look at it. To answer your first question, right? The second part of the question, to answer it, lot of engagements with lot of organizations. What I have seen is when you go on a bottom up approach, in especially on this in this arena, it things tend to fall off, right? Why?
Right.
Because the reason is, in order to realize the actual value of an advanced analytics or an AI engagement, not only your technology people, your process change management should also come in at certain level, right? This doesn't mean that most of the like, if I talk about, like, let me share a little bit small experience, right? I was working for a like a one of the world's biggest banks, right? Um, if you go when you try to merge this within the existing processes, and if the people who are going to really work hands on the interventions as well as the outputs of these interventions of big data or any other AI driven approaches, if they feel that, okay, by doing this they're going to lose their jobs or something is going to happen, then these things never going to work out, right? So while you're putting the emphasis from top down approach on a data centric vision, you also need to make sure that we buy through, right? So why I'm emphasizing this is, if you look at an AI engagement, you might have, expert engagement leads like business intelligence leads who will be working on data scientists, data engineering, and there will be a lot of team members who might work with it, right? That should be the right message. You should drive through all the stems across, right? So hence it is important to make sure it comes through top down, but make sure that you communicate quite well. Don't don't cherish and cheer when it is only be successful. Cherish and cheer when you come and hit roadblocks, because that's why data is there for and analytics is there for, right? So that's kind of the clear message that I want to communicate. If you're expecting something within 2 days, it's not going to happen. You have to expect like a roadmap, have those right, gates for you to gauge where you are, do chunks of investments based on it, and then look back on your ROI would be the right way to look at it.
Excellent. Thank you, Duminda. That's a great answer. Now, we do have quite a lot of people who come from a very strong technology background in the audience. I was just glancing through. So Dr. Sumani, let me come to you and let me ask this question for you. And I think I'm just departing from our conversation flow at the moment, and I'm just asking a very kind of almost like a pointed question. And I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot, but the question is about what are the technology stack specifics that you think are needed for organizations to think about, when they think about it, building a robust data strategy work in an organization, right? I'm unsure whether we will have the liberty or we will have the permission to speak about what we are using, but with your experience, maybe you can just make a general observations about it. If you want to mention specific, technologies or whatever, please feel free to do so. And I think then I want to have a follow-up question with you and say that this oftentimes when we go to businesses, the challenge always have been that businesses, leaders, and technology conversation seems to be a little bit disconnected, right? Oftentimes people say, now I have once gone and tried to talk about ROI about a particular customer, and the customer said, no, let me get my IT guy to come in, type of thing, right? So that's a very interesting problems we face in organizations when we talk about technology stack. But I would like to first start with discussing about the technology stack recommendations, or what your observations are about building this robust data strategy, and then we'll follow up with how do we connect the bridge between business and technology? Dr. Sumani, what would you think, and what I have you observed?
Yeah. Thanks, Rohan, for the question. Yeah. So on the technology stack, I mean, first thing is, and largely, everyone goes for cloud. So I think, I mean, it's the right strategy. It would be a right strategy to, build our data platform and, the entire system on a cloud. Mostly, Azure or AWS or GCP are the main players. But I mean, if you have a very strong legal or compliance requirement not to move to cloud, then you can think of building the platform and capabilities on premise. But largely, I would recommend to go for cloud because it's easier to do, and you will pay as you go. That's a first thing, and then second thing, I mean, for the platform, the data and an advanced analytical platform, so lots of subfields comes in, right, from data collection to data processing to machine learning models and serving to even visualization, and there are lots of different areas. So I would say, first of all, data storage. Mostly, if it's an unstructured one, then the cloud providers provide the storage layer. Mainly, if it's AWS, then they provide S3. If it's GCP buckets, or Azure also has the similar service for the data storage stack. And then if it's it's unstructured, if it's for unstructured data. If it's structured data, then of course, we have to go for relational databases. If you are building a data warehouse or something, then we have to go for relational databases. Then, another big part comes in, once you store the data, then you have to process the data. From the raw, you have to process and transform the data from raw to aggregated, and that can be used by a data scientist or other visualization people. So to process the data, I mean, I would say there are quite a prominent tools like Apache Spark or Fling, or there are few those are the popular tools that you can use to process the data and build the ETL pipelines. And then once processed, then you would build a model or machine learning model or something. Then it comes to the scikit-learn or Keras, TensorFlow, PyTorch. Those are the popular technology stack to build and model. And then finally, visualization part is of course Power BI or Tableau can be used for the visualization as a visualization tools. Yeah, these are the most prominent and most popular technology to stack and tools. So starting from cloud to very other tools, we have to pick the right one based on the need, and then yeah, I think that would be the right to go.
Dr. Sumani, thank you. I'm so glad that this particular session is getting recorded. Half of them I never heard. I will definitely be Googling it after this session to find.
No, sorry for that. Yeah.
No, don't apologize. It's amazing. It's great. There's so much of stuff that obviously you realize how little you know when you get into these webinars and discuss these topics. So really good. Thank you, Dr. Sumani. There are two questions we got one from Imtiaz and other one is Akalanka. So Akalanka, thank you for the questions. There's about 59 people in the group. I'm sure all of you can also see. If you want to type in an answer with your experience, please just put in your identification and then just respond a mail, but we'll take up the two questions as well. But I think, Anu, let me just come back to you on one very specific thing, right? We spoke about, Dr. Sumani gave like this array of tools and technologies. You spoke about a lot of essentially roles and responsibilities and functions that is needed to build this. As I mentioned, like if I didn't know anything, it sounds like a lot of work and investment. And of course, Duminda also spoke very importantly about some of the things that the business need to talk about capturing value. So let me just ask this question: like with your experience, I am convinced data is the new oil. All of that is fine, great. Let me want to go ahead. What are the mistakes that you often see organizations make with your experience along this journey of building this data strategy and going on this path of achieving intelligence insights using analytics? I mean, what are the common mistakes you have seen? And also any recommendations you think that organizations and anyone should avoid in this particular journey?
Uh, Again, a great question, Rohan. I think I'll put it in three main things that an organization should be focusing on. One is value driven. So even if you're going in the journey of data driven, right, the data that you want to focus in bringing into your central platform, it shouldn't be like without thinking. So you need to understand where your priority use cases or priority thingy, how you're going to use the data in the first place. So when you're defining a data strategy, it's very important that it's value driven, not going in the direction of whatever data we have, let's just bring it to data platform blindly. So always go in the direction of which is the data that you should focus first, because there are use cases linked to it. So when you're defining your strategy, always take into a perspective of your use cases, whether it's a reporting dashboard or analytical use cases, and the domains that you want to focus on, and then focus that data to come into your central platform first, or when you're building like a data driven thingy. That's gonna be one. So it should be value driven. Second is gonna be always take into account governance. So often organizations sometimes they forget, and then they pay attention to data quality, data compliance in the later run. So it's always important that from the day one, when you are thinking in that direction, you take into account governance as well. And in terms of these are the data, this is PII, this is the data it should reside in. If you're using cloud, can it reside in this bucket versus another? And the quality, how you're going to be maintaining it in the future. So that's going to be second point, which always also ties with the use cases that you're doing. Again, AI ML can do many use cases. So as an organization, ethically, are you supposed to do that? Is this something that you should be doing in terms of use cases? So you always question that and check with the legal always and compliance, that is this the right thing to do with the data, the how you want to use it in terms of use cases as well. And third is very important is that we also pay a lot of attention to the architecture that you're defining. Maybe you're thinking about streaming data and you do not have the right set of architecture to follow it. So it's important that you have the right set of data architecture to support what you're trying to do, and also the talent, because it's not about building it, it's also about maintaining it. So you've got the right set of people. So that's going to be the third thing I would say as an organization you to be very careful with.
Nice, really nice. Let me kind of pause for a moment. I'd like to ask Dumi for you to kind of take this question from Imtiaz about, especially about the skills by undergraduate, because I know that you may have worked with a lot of young people coming through, and this thing, and I will obviously after Dumi, I'll go to Dr. Sumani. Just I'd like to find out very specific technical skill sets, maybe competencies that you look for to become a machine learning engineer. But Dumi, what do you think for the answer that question Imtiaz had asked about the possibilities about the necessary skills that it need to be developed by an graduate to become a quality machine learning engineer / data scientist / I would just say just to get into advanced analytics space.
Yeah. Thank you, Rohan. Yeah, thank you, Rohan. So I'll probably leave Dr. Sumani to answer in terms of more technical front of it, but the most I think the most important thing is that go get a psychology, right? So the thing is, like, this space is where you need to have your own enthusiasm to drive it, right? So you might join an organization which might do a particular product development or a solution development on a particular stack that they wanted to do, right? But that is for a particular period of time. But the journey is such that once when you join an organization like this, if you don't have a go-getter mentality, it's move up or out, right? That's kind of like the way how I look at it, right? So how do you move up is basically you identify what is your current trends in the market, and then always reach out to the organization's training roadmap. And if I just take an example, if you take Octave, like if an individual intends to join, then the journey that we take them through is like basically it's like a 18 months journey that we take them through, right? While they're working on production level use cases or any engagements, we take them through an 18 months journey where we will make sure that we give the right level of support. And then also you need to have the appetite to do that and go through that journey, right? And also your culture fit and everything needs to be it. And also the most importantly, while leaving Dr. Subramanian to speak about the technical aspect of it, you also needs to focus on the domains that you're going to work on it and then start reading on those domains, right? It's a very important thing because say that you are going to solve a problem about customer churn, nobody's going to come and tell you, okay, this is exactly what you're going to solve it, right? You may have to, like, if you're using machine learning models, you may have to lose multiple features, so multiple technologies and all that. So you need to come with that appetite to, that R&D psychology for you to start working on it. And you should not scope yourself just into one pillar. Now, if you look at it now, ChatGPT just came in, and then I was just actually before joining this, I was just reading about Mira, right, who is the CTO, who's very young, who has just from who has worked as a backbone to bring this from the Silicon Valley, right? If you really look at that story, you will see that how people can really be bright and smart to bring those products where millions are now using it, right? Dr. Sumani, what is your view on this in terms of technology part of it?
Yeah. So the technology part, I mean, before moving into the technology part, I mean, I have two things. First of all, emphasize on the business understanding. That is crucial that Duminda has highlighted. Because in lots of cases, I have seen that the technical people, data scientists or machine learning engineers or people, often don't show any interest to understand the business need or business domain. They just try to stay in the technical world and then try to solve a problem. That is, I would say that is one of the biggest mistake that they are making. So the first thing, they have to have a business understanding and business sense. That is the first thing. And second, anyone who wants to enter into this field, they should know the fundamentals. So the fundamentals, what I mean is, here in this advanced analytics, first of all, statistics is crucial thing. I have seen, lots of people, even, the people have worked in this area for more than 4, 5, 6 years, lack or maybe, very peak in statistics. So that is one thing, anyone, wants to, become, enter into this field should, learn and, become expert at. So statistics is one first thing. And then second, and then the programming language, these days, pretty much Python programming is the de facto programming language for any of the advanced analytics things. So from the data engineering to machine learning engineering to data science. So pretty much everyone uses Python as the program, de facto language. So we have to learn, I mean, anyone, have to learn Python, statistics, and then, the business understanding and business knowledge. Those are the, most basic things. And then on top of that one, once you are, good at these things, on top of that one, depends on your job need. I have, listed the list of tools in the previous question, let's say whether it's Apache Spark or maybe maybe Keras TensorFlow or maybe Scikit-learn or maybe Airflow. So it depends on the need. You should also know the tool end to end. So I have a one comment there because these tools and technologies are often fast changing. Every other day we hear a new tool being released and being used by or widely adopted. So you should be able to first of all, you should have a very strong foundation so that you should be able to learn new tool or whatever comes down the line and adapt it as quickly as possible. Yeah,
I mean,
Just,
great.
just,
Yeah,
just
go
a
ahead, Dinesh,
small.
go ahead.
I want to add it like the art of AI and data science is like difference between software engineering is like, so in software engineering you might know exactly the problem that you're going to solve and what is the expected outcome that you're going to achieve, right? So as an example, you're building an HRM system, you know that this is the information that you're going to capture, and then hence you will have a BRD, right? Analytics and AI is something that sometimes you actually don't know what the outcome is, right? Then you have to work backwards, right? So that that as long as you have that aptitude then I think most of these things you can learn, but you need to have that aptitude to accept it and then come back and then start learning towards it.
Amazing. And gentlemen, thank you very much. Anu, I think we are almost on the 60-minute mark. So I know that we are hoping to wrap up within about next maybe 15, 20 minutes. But let me ask this question from you. Akalanka had asked this question about what kind of scenarios can we use AI and ML for data centric and enterprise? I'd like you to kind of give your immediate reaction to that, but I have a little bit of a slightly different question also that I want to follow up with. What do you think, Anu, about that particular question?
Yeah. So in what kind of scenarios, right? So it's basically the problem statements that we're referring here. So it's going to be three types again. Sorry, I'm just saying again three thingy. So first is on more on your the kind of problem that you're solving. It's you go back in the history. So it's basically you're describing something where you're looking at the history and then taking decisions like why certain things have gone good or bad in the past. So that kind of scenario, so that kind of problem statements that you want to understand is describing the past. The other problem that you can help, or the scenarios that can where you can use AI and ML, is predicting. So for example, you're predicting how long a given, for example, a trial that comes in a market for a pharma industry would take, or how many people are needed, what are the sales are going to look like, or maybe a customer, how in a retail industry a customer is going to get churn. So again, within an enterprise, so the other problems or the scenarios where the team like ANML will help you is on the prediction problem. And third is on the unlocking new opportunities, which is prescribed. So for example, if you're thinking in the Amazon or a retail world, so if recommending something, like for example, if I'm buying a product, why can you opt for another product? So AI and ML can help you there, where you can build models that can also help you in the prescription. And second thing is more on like if you know a given audience is gonna look like it's gonna be busy in the hospital, then how many patients I can put in early on, so you can tweak the future based on the decisions that you're going to do it today. So these are different scenarios or different problem statements that different organizations can work on. So past, present, prediction, and prescription. Yeah.
Amazing. Anu, thank you. I have just a follow-up question. I think we spoke a lot about, how we started, where we are, and different things.
Yeah.
But looking into the future, how do you think this entire data strategy, the way that organizations are taking up analytics, will expect it to transform? I'm asking you to look inside the crystal ball right now, and maybe I know it's very hard one, but what do you think are the trends that are really going to drive? To me, mention something really interesting about ChatGPT that's supposed to transform a lot of things, a lot of high expectation there. So what are your predictions about, especially with regards to data strategy and data part inside organizations?
Yeah, I think my take, the way, like if I look back my history again in order to predict the future. So overall, I personally felt that with the clients and the industries that we are serving today, everybody is moving in the direction of using AI and ML in their organization. So again, many projects or many clients would be driven in that direction. Again, whether it's pharma, whether it's insurance, banking, you will see that trend. Again, when another thing that I noticed was earlier when we started the projects, right, they were more like a do a thingy and stop it there. It's more like a MVP. In future, you will see more solutions that are thinking in the direction of more scalable. So you'll have elements of data ops or ML ops also built in, where the results that are given by AI ML wouldn't restrict. You have to ensure that the results are going to sustain and it's going to retrain. So that is another journey that you will see clients moving towards, is focusing more on how to sustain this from the perspective of compliance, and the model is not going to give wrong results. So that is where another direction you would see people would take away. But again, my thing is people are going to get retrained in using those. So nobody, it's not going to impact much on the people level. It's just that reskilling is needed for each individual to catch up to the changing trends.
Amazing. Thank you, Anu. I think we are almost at the time where we actually have to start planning for our conclusions. To start that, Dr. Sumani, maybe may I request you to kind of add on to anything that was mentioned under the questions, and maybe give your closing remarks about what is your take on this particular data strategy and the organizations, and how you think we should move forward on this.
Yeah. Thanks, Rohan. So yeah, I mean, in sum, I would say, that this topic is all about the getting ROI from the investment and the data strategy. So if we really, ensure that we are getting the right return from the investment, as we, initially promised, we have to, start with, I mean, once the data strategy is built, we have to start with the, right use cases and right business problem to solve. Because one of the thing in my past experience, I have seen in lots of organizations, everyone, get to know this hype, and then, recruit, bunch of data scientists, and then they work in silos, and they kind of, try to solve some R&D problems. They just think that, okay, this is cool to work on, and they just, take it as a, project and work on it. And then after 6 months or 8 months only, they realize that, oh, this is not going to be useful, and then they just, drop it. So these things are often happening. I mean, maybe, a simple thing, but, I have seen lots of places it's happening everywhere. So in order to, ensure that we are getting the right ROI or right ROI from the investment on the data and advanced analytics, we have to start the work from the business point of view. But, building some right, identifying right business use cases, and then, deciding what is, highly impactful for us, and highly, what is not so important. And then, then second, once, that identified, and then also we have to build the organizational level mindset also. So if we do these things, then in addition to, having the right data strategy and the right talent pool, we can ensure that we are achieving, or we are getting the right return from the investment. Yeah.
Excellent. Great answers, Dr. Sumani. Thank you. Dumi, I'd like to come to you for your comments about the topic we had, the different point of views that we got shared among the panelists, and maybe your concluding thoughts as well on this.
Yeah, thanks, Rohan. So I think the key message that I would like to share is that from an organizational point of view, if you are looking at a data strategy or a analytics strategy, it needs to drive from top down as much as possible. But wherever you are driving it, whether top down or bottom up or whatever, you need to believe in it, and then you should take time to drive it rather than rushing through, because these things will take time. From a prospect of an individual, I'll probably say that if you are engaged in any of the analytics engagements or big data engagements, don't try to rush through and create value out of it immediately. Value will automatically generate if you just approach the problem in the right way and the right manner, and do not approach and try to solve a particular business problem without understanding what is your soft and hard ROIs, because sometimes your hard ROIs might not be really something that you can measure, but your soft ROIs are definitely measurable. Your hard ROIs will quickly realize, but the soft ROIs would take time for your top line and bottom line. So that's like kind of like 3-4 messages that I want to share, and hope it's insightful for everyone. And thank you very much, Rohan. Yeah.
Pleasure. Anu, yesterday was the International Women's Day, so happy Women's Day, and your closing remarks, and love to hear your thoughts and concluding thoughts to the audience, what they want. Anyone wants to have a crack at the last few, if we want to throw in a last question, please feel free to do so. But Anu, coming to you for your thoughts and concluding remarks before we wrap up for today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rohan. Thanks. I'm just going to highlight 2 things here that I think my colleagues have also mentioned the similar thing, Duminda and Dr. Sumani. So basically, it's mind shift, so mindset change. So basically moving in the direction of more on the innovation side, where you are not restricting yourself to the ways earlier it used to be do so. So I'm going to stick to the same thingy. I think as an organization, if we move in this direction of learning and also innovations, I think that's the key area. And second is going to be keep learning. The world is changing so fast. If you're not going to adapt to how the world is changing, you will be left behind and will have a limited competitive advantage. So it's going to be, as an individual, as an organization, I think we should always keep learning. As a DE, I started as a .NET developer and I moved to Hadoop and then to another technologies and moving more in the direction of DevOps and MLOps. So it's always keep learning. I think that's where you will grow as an individual and similarly for organizations. Yeah.
Excellent. Anu, thanks a lot. Dear panelists, thank you so much. It's been an absolute privilege for me personally to listen to you guys. I always learn. One of the reasons why I really love doing this stuff is I get to learn a lot more and listen to you guys. For everyone who had been with us for the last 1 hour and 10 minutes, thank you so much. Just to give a disclaimer, though we always say 1.5 hours, usually our webinars are 1 hour 15 minutes. That's the plan that we always carried forward, because we know that after 1 hour mark, anything, even if it's great, it's harder to retain the attention. So thank you very much for being with us for this 1 hour and 10 minutes. Recording will be available on the YouTube channel sometime later. Dear panelists, thank you so much. For everyone who stayed and joined us for this webinar, I hope you gained something. Feel free to look any of us up on LinkedIn, make connections, make sure use these platforms and everything as a mechanism to further some of your own agendas and your growth. And we are happy to help you in any way. Thank you very much. Someone has raised their hand. Let me just understand whether there's a genuine question or any questions, or are we okay? No questions, or all right. I don't think there's anything like that. So thank you very much, everyone. And then we'll wrap up the webinar for today. Take care. Thanks, Anu.
Thank you, Rohan.
Thanks to me. Thank you, Dr. Sumani. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, bye.